Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us on this very special Wednesday. Today is the very first day of Women's History Month. So we are spotlighting powerful, strong, impactful women all month long. And so before I get started, please stop what you're doing right now. Like, share, subscribe, follow, connect, whatever you are, do that. Do all of that stuff right now. Share it in your feed so that other people can watch. But I do want to thank you guys for joining us. So today I have a super special guest. Super special guest. And I'm going to bring her in right now. Good evening, Jerry. All right, let's get her on the screen. Hi. So we have
Hello,
Miss,
everyone.
yes, Miss Stringer is joining us today. She is literally every woman. You heard the song, I'm every woman, I'm every woman. That this is every woman. She is an entrepreneur. She has a nonprofit. She has a for-profit. She has ran for mayor, right? She has done it all. She's just done it all. And so I'm welcoming her here today, and I want you all to welcome her as we talk about the power of women, and what better way to start it off other than a powerful woman. So give us a little introduction. I talked a little bit about what you do. Tell us a little bit more.
Good evening, Joy, and thank you for inviting me. Shout out to all the powerful women as we kick off Women's History Month. I am Shandra Stringer. I am the abdominal coach, in which I help individuals and businesses to sustain through the growing pains. Because what happens, we start a business, we're doing really good, and we run into a roadblock and we don't do anything. And so I am that professional that help them to migrate through that and come out on the other side and stick to their dreams to help them to come true.
Awesome. So she's going to help us right now talk about making our dreams come true through women.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
how many people in the chat, how many people have powerful women that they look up to? I know from the moment I came out of the womb, I started with my mom, who was a force.
Yes.
She was a force, right? And then I had my grandmother Gladys. I had my bonus grandmama, Miss Matai, Miss Minnie Lee Walker. I had my bonus grandmama, Miss Ethel May. And these women really showed me like what it meant to overcome adversity, what
Yes.
it meant to stand in your power, stand on what you believe, stand in your character, and stand in your values.
Yes.
So how many people have women like that in their lives? And I want you to drop it in the chat and let's honor them today. Miss Stringer, tell us about
Awesome.
your experience with powerful women in your life.
Wow. Well, it started with me at the age of 4. And I always tell this story when people ask, how did I get started? I'm like, well, I went to this little small town in Mississippi called Lamar, Mississippi, right on Kimber Chapel Road. It's still there. And my aunt, who was in the Head Start program, and she actually served that particular organization for 50 years. And I never ever forget. And I was asking about a cousin, and I said to her, I said, where is so and so at? And she nicely just gave me a nice slap on the back. And she said, you do not end a sentence in a preposition. And I'm thinking, like, what is a preposition? And she said to me, at. At is a preposition. You always have a subject after the preposition. And so, literally, that day, it started the love of education, the love of reading and inspiring. And so, she, of course, my mom, of course, my mom didn't raise me, but just having my mom to make sure I was born, then her, and then all of her friends, because all of them were connected in the Head Start program. And I just believe, as a professional woman now, a lot of, I call it my forming years, that was the start.
Yes, that is so true. And it's amazing because we have men around too, but
Yes.
the women, like, I don't know what it is about them because they give birth to us for one,
That's
right?
number
They
one.
they understand that, but they also encourage us, but they
Yes.
challenge us and they correct
Yes.
us,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And they check us.
All of that.
Like she checked you. She checked you. And so that is so valuable to because you need that checking, right? You need someone that
Right,
you could trust to check. And sometimes a man do it to be a little too hard.
right,
It'd be
right,
a little too
right.
hard. So
Mhm.
that is an awesome story. It's a great way to honor her.
Yes.
So let's get into it. As women, a lot of times we're in a world in society that was built by men for men, right?
Mhm, mhm.
By men for men. When we go to work at a lot of places, male dominated workplaces. When
Yeah.
we come home, you know, we're taught that when we come home, oh, it's supposed to be a man at home and he's supposed to be take care of stuff. Though we know like that's not always what's happening. But society tells us like this is the way we were brought up in a time where that's the way things were supposed to be. So
Yes.
how do you think now we live like in our power individually and
Mm.
collectively?
Yeah. And so I keep going back to my early years because
Mhm.
with going to Mississippi, it was one of my aunt's colleagues, and I always had like really short hair, the fat cheeks and everything. And so I would look at other people, I'm like, oh, their hair is long, oh, she's so cute. And I never ever forget. And she, like, you heard the story, I forget what story it is. You sure is pretty, you are smart, you're all of that. And that's what she would do every day. And so while I didn't necessarily think it on the offset, her saying that to me all the time, it was like, I am. And I began to own that. I began to repeat it within myself. I began to live it at elementary school, middle school, high school. And so, even with obstacles, I just know that somebody had to plant the seed. And once the seed is planted, someone else will water it, and then it increases to who you are today. And I
Mhm.
think no matter the obstacles, and even though we live in a male dominated world, there are still powerful women that are planting
Mhm.
those seeds. Somebody else is coming behind them to water it. And then voila, here we are.
Yeah. I saw a video of what is her name? Issa Rae. And Issa Rae
Mhm.
had this video where she talked about she doesn't always look up, right? Sometimes she
Right.
looks to her peers. She
Yes.
looks to the people who are on her level and she
Yes.
wants to work with them and collaborate with them and uplift them, right? And so
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
take that also with women. So you'll
Yes.
see me a lot of times like sharing like the women I know, like sharing their stuff on different social media, liking it
Yes.
and stuff like that. And I think
Mhm.
it's important that we come together as women and uplift each
Yes.
other and feed into each other's lives
Yes.
because honestly, as Beyonce said, and she stole it from somebody, there's nothing like a conversation with another woman, right? There's
Talk about it.
there's nothing like a conversation with another woman. So when you can have
Mhm.
strong women around you supporting you, you would be
Mhm.
surprised how uplifted and how
Yes.
motivated and encouraged you can feel from those conversations and that positive
Mhm.
energy.
Yes, absolutely. So funny you should say that. I just had a this past Sunday, we had a session called Coffee Conversation and Creative Sunday. And
Mhm.
Sunday we colored. And it started off with like two people, then three people, then four people. We ended up with 18 people on a
Yeah.
Sunday evening. And it was amazing. I mean, people say it was amazing, but it was amazing.
Mhm.
And everybody said, I needed this. I needed this time to inhale and exhale away from the normal way of life. I needed this time to bond with other women, to talk, to chat. Some had iced coffee, some had hot coffee. We had peach sodas. Why I
Mhm.
got peach, I don't know. But it was just that kind of connection. And I'm telling you, in a day-to-day process, if we're not connected to someone that we can relate to, but also connect to, and that's actually two different things. Relate to is more so that person that may be going through the same thing that you're going through, so you're not alone in the fight. And then the connect could be that person that says, hey, you may be in this situation right now, but I'm gonna need you to step it up a little bit, sis. I'm here for you. Come on,
Yeah.
let's go. You got it. Strap up your shoes, let's go.
Mhm.
And so it's so important that those that are in, I don't even want to say leadership roles,
Yeah.
but have the capacity to create spaces, because this was right here at my office. And so I do that for them, but I also enjoy it myself.
Yeah.
And then I turn around and I'll go to Atlanta, or I'll go to the Bahamas, and I get that same residual pouring.
Ah, yeah, I love that. So I want to talk about something that's a little bit more controversial. So just a little bit. So many years ago, not that many years ago, but probably about 8 years ago, I started a single moms group in Atlanta,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And so we got together. One of my biggest fears, and this is very transparent, so don't jump down my throat, is that we have, especially among Black women, right? We
mhm.
have this thing where it's like, if there's a lot of women, it's gonna get catty. Or if there's a lot of women, like it's just this thing. Do you know
Yeah,
what I'm talking about? How
I
we'll
do know what you're talking about. Because when I work for corporate America, let me tell you, I have to say,
was it a lot of drama?
yes. Oh my God. Working with males and working with women was night and day. You can have a disagreement with a male, and 2 minutes later, they're like, hey, what you having for lunch? Women, they got to go tell everybody about it.
You got to vent.
But with maturity, somebody has to be the bigger person. I think that's where the disconnect comes in.
Hmm.
Once I learned the disc and learn how people behave,
Hmm.
then I adjusted myself. Then I learned how to, I didn't change, but I learned how to create my environment. So even though they may have been still upset about a disagreement or a different view of things, I still treated them with respect. I
Yeah.
still value their opinion. I still honored where they were at that moment. And 9 times out of 10, we would end up, we didn't have tea and crumpets every day, but we ended up back on a good note. So somebody in that group has to be the glue. That has to
Yeah.
be that person that changed the dynamics of that environment.
Yeah. And so I was shocked because I've always been one who's had more male friends than female friends, or at least
Mhm.
longer term male friendships than female friendships. But
Right.
I was absolutely shocked that I almost had no drama. And I mean, we met for maybe 5 years, sometimes 3 times a month, sometimes 4 times a month.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
there was I can count on my hand 2 instances of drama out of all of that time.
Mhm.
And it was really women that just wanted to come together of a like mind, right?
Yep.
Like interests.
Mhm.
We with our kids, so you don't want to be messy. But
Mhm.
women that want to come together and just have a good time and
Yep.
talk about men and talk about parenting, and so I say that because I think it has kind of been instilled and we've experienced, right? There's
Yes.
some catty women, but do not let the catty women stop you
That's
from
right.
having those female bonds.
That's right. That's right. And I have to give kudos to my daughter. I have a shout out to Relandry. I'm sure she's busy. She's not watching, but she's 26. And I have to tell you, that young lady is so amazing. She is so amazing on so many levels. And what she reminded me to do, she says, Mom, you can't treat everyone with past experiences.
Oh, yes.
And I think that was like let me tell you something. She saved a six-figure deal for me with that one
Wow.
statement. And when you going back to that maturity level, and I think, Joy, you were the connector, you were the glue that created the environment, right?
Mm,
So when you create that environment, then it releases everything else. But a lot of times we start initiatives, we start missions, we start businesses out of anger, out of hurt, out of
mm,
resentment. And so just because we start something doesn't mean that we're the person that should be doing it, because we carry all that unresolved baggage with us wherever we go. And that what really breeds that. Because let me tell you, just recently, I was we were doing a 40, I was doing it myself. A 40-day soul fast book, not from food, but just inwardly purpose driven.
yeah.
And I shared with one of my friends, and she was like, "Oh, you should do a group." I'm thinking, like, no, I'm not, because I don't want to be bothered. And immediately I heard my daughter, Mom, you can't do that. You can't treat people on your past experiences. Do
Hmm.
you know there's 25 women that signed up for the group?
That's awesome.
Now, what if I had of operate in immaturity? I don't want to be
Hmm.
bothered. This is my book. This is my toy. I'm not going to give it to you. I would have missed this opportunity that we're about to embark upon. And so,
Hmm.
as you're saying what you started, I'm going to put it back on you and give you kudos, because I'm telling you, it's an individual thing that you create environments for people that want to be around you. You create environments for people that see what you have and they want more of that for
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
And it's also about being intentional, right? So I was
Oh,
intentional
yes.
with a project, but also being intentional with your relationships.
Yes.
Being
Yes.
intentional with your relationships with women. And that's where I've actually had a lot of, I want to say, growing pains, is that I have always been, and I used to tell my friends this, like, I've always been one to give up female friendships like very easily, right? And that's, I mean, it's not a good thing. Like, now that I've grown up, I'm like, darn, I had a lot of good friends that for me, once I got uncomfortable, I was like, okay, like, I'm just gonna shop back in my corner. But over time, I've realized, like, oh my gosh, I've let go of so many really solid, good women in my life that I should have, just because of something we haven't learned, how to address conflict with others in a loving way, right?
Exactly. And you said the key word, it's the growing pains, because we like comfort, and we're human. We like having our own way. We like, if you don't agree with me, then we're enemies. And that is so opposite of that. And you just learn to embrace people where they are. Now, if it gets too close to my values, now I will like pump the brakes a little bit, but I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to entreat you. I'm still going to help you. I'm still going to help you. And so I'm laughing because it feels like we've been on the same like journey together.
Yeah. And mine would even be like, they did anything super offensive. Like, I don't have any like irks about giving up friendships with people who've done super offensive stuff, right? But it has been like little things that hit on my insecurities, right?
Mark that word.
It poked at my insecurities, and those insecurities kept me from being able to maintain a friendship. And it was, like I said, it would be something like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, they said that to me, and now I think they don't like me. Like they think I'm crazy, whatever it is.
Going back to a place of experience, going back to something you experienced and you related to that.
Absolutely. So we've stressed like the power in collective women is great, right? But the power as a woman individually. Do you feel like women today are operating at their highest level potential, their highest level power in general?
I would say I would have to give it a 90%.
Okay.
And I say that because it's a caveat to it. I believe that they are, but a lot of times we adjust. And we adjust when we feel like the temperature is too hot. We feel like we need to overcompensate, so we lose a part of ourselves by adjusting.
Ooh. How many women adjusted? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, because we do, right? We've been taught to adjust and to conform and to make sure everyone's okay and comfortable.
Exactly. So that's why I said it's a two-sided thing, because we're giving it, but are we being our authentic self? And that is the key, because I mean, myself included, you know, I'm going to say probably in the middle of 2022, I was like, why do I care what people think if I'm walking in my purpose? Why do I care? I don't need their validation. I don't need their permission. All I need to do is just be me. Show up every day 120% and walk in my purpose. Those that are supposed to be on my journey and in my path, they will be there. And those that are not, then it's okay. That season is over and that season is gone. And I'm okay with that too. I still like you. I'm still going to help you. I'm still going to speak to you when I see you. But I had to get to a level that I'm not dumbing down. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And I'm not going to compromise either.
Okay. And I like that, because one of the things I tell people when I talk about like partnerships, like intimate relationships, right? When we're going out and we're dating, it's like, just because a guy, and it's going to be the same thing for women, same thing for everyone, just because they are not a good fit for you doesn't make them a bad person. So you don't have to hate them, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to hate them. They just weren't there. Maybe they weren't where you want to be right now. Maybe they weren't looking for marriage. but it doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. And so I think that goes for any relationship, that when we come into that conflict, we have to come from, okay, unless they did something really bad. But so that's my caveat. I'm not saying accept everything, but being like, okay, this is probably based on their experiences, based on where they are in life. What are they able to give at this point? And knowing like they're not instinctively a bad person most of the time.
Right. And I mean, you're hitting on so many good points. And I'm just, as an entrepreneur, you have to be you have to have faith, right? To walk this thing out, to start, to stay, and stay some more. And when I used to get so upset with people, and I'm like, you don't see your potential. You don't see. And I'm like, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
They're not there yet.
Yeah.
So meet people where they are. Now, what will happen, you'll get left behind. Because I am not going to play around in shallow waters when I know there's more for me to do. So all of that, you have to, I don't want to say compartmentalize people. I think it's such an industrial word.
Yeah.
But you do have to put people in perspective.
Yeah.
And that's with any relationship. And the beauty of it is, I'm reminded of a proverb that says, iron sharpeneth iron, and so shall a man sharpen the countenance of his friends. And sometimes your friends will challenge you. Now, if you walk away from that, don't want to be bothered because they're saying, hey, you may want to do this, because a lot of times we don't see our blind side either. Right. And so the areas that we think we're strong in, we're really weak in, and other people see it and we don't see it.
Yeah.
So it's like this melting pot of ever evolving that we have to, migrate through.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to something you said before, which was being your authentic self. So while I'm going to read out some of the chats, but when we come back to you talking, I want you to tell me, how do you know that you are being your authentic self? So I want to shout out the people in the chat. Like, y'all got it going on. Russell Butts. We as parents and adults have to instill self-pride in our youth. You're right. That's where it starts. That's absolutely where it starts.
Yes.
And then we have, that is true. It never fails. It starts out great, and we have to work through things and go for it in love. So that's when you were talking about the conflict at work. You do. In order to maintain relationships, and those relationships could mean the world later on, right? I'm learning through having a business and doing this podcast how important relationships is to get anyone to come on, right? And so you have to learn to work through things and go forward in love. And I think as a kid, I don't know if I learned how to work through things. I knew how to just move through it, right? And just act like nothing happened, or be Gail and go be quiet. But not the actual working through. We went forward, but I don't know if we learned how to work through.
Right.
All right. Shout out to Miss Amazing Grace and Miss Jamie Herring. Let's look at this one. You should be taking an inventory of yourself in relationships. There is a reason and a season. Some people are meant to be in your life. Some people aren't meant to be in your life forever. I 100%.
I definitely agree with that.
Thank you, Miss Latoya, who just got recognized, I saw, as Volunteer of the Year. And then Talisha, take me as my am. That is my motto. Yes, that is absolutely her motto, and I can attest to it. That is her motto. All right. So, Sandra, how do you know that you're being your authentic self?
Well, believe it or not, I do a lot of assessments. I just did one this morning. It's called Authentic Quotient.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was so on point. It says, I show up for my community. Anybody know I will go straight ham. I've always been an advocate. Always, even as a child, like in first grade, if the teacher was being mean to the student and I knew the student was didn't understand it, it wasn't that they didn't want to be bad, I would go sneak and help them, and I would tell them, you're so smart. Look at me. Somebody had to tell me I was smart, and I would tell them.
That's how it starts.
Yeah, and so it's the actions that I do every day. And when I find myself trying to dumb myself down or adjust to meet the status quo, I there's this little inner being is like, I had something that happened the other day real quickly, and they were like, oh, Shandra, you know so-and-so knowing so-and-so. And I'm like, listen, I've been in business for 25 years, and I didn't get here just adjusting. I got here because I show up every day. And I'm not just saying physically show up.
Yeah.
In my mind, my body, my spirit, I'm here. I treat people the way they should be treated, not the way they think they should be treated. I treat them fairly. I give them a fair price. I advocate. And so my actions that I know I do every single day validates my inner values, as well as when I output it, because it comes back. Sometimes it doesn't come back all like I wanted to and right away, but it evolves. And so you'll know, because there's the inner guide. There's the inner guide. And the other thing you'll know you're being authentic, you're not stressed. You're not stressed. You're not stressed.
Yeah.
Not that stressful things don't happen, but you're not stressed.
No, I love that. And so I went to an Oprah convention one time. I would love for her to come back. It's always so good. And they talked about when your thoughts, right, your mind aligns with your heart and your actions and your word, when everything's in alignment, right, that is being authentic with your values, with your character. When you're in alignment, then you know you're being authentic, and you're right? You don't feel like, okay, I got to figure out how to maneuver here.
Right. That's so much energy.
It takes a lot of energy.
And I tell people that when you lie, you got to tell another lie. Then you got to tell another lie. Then you got to remember the lie. And it's just too much. It's too much. And I tell people all the time, I value my name. And what I mean by that is, anybody can tell you, they might not like me, but they got to respect me. Because they will tell you, if you're going to do anything with Shandra, you better come correct. And not that I'm this big, pious kind of person. It's just, I value my name. I value it. And so when I put my name on something, when I co-sign something, I have either experienced it and I can say, yes, this person is who they say they are as far as I know. Or if I say, yes, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it unless something, happened that I can't. And I'm going to communicate that as well. And so I think that's like the core of being authentic is integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity, because integrity is just not telling the truth on an application. It's what you live
we
every
know
day.
they have a lot of that, a lot of those issues going on right now with applications and telling the truth. So I know we're about out of time. So I want to wrap it up with, what do you think? What 3 pointers would you give a woman when it comes to tapping into her power?
Woo! 3 pointers. Let faith be your anchor. Never waver. And know your purpose.
Oh, we can do a whole show on knowing your purpose.
Because when you know your purpose, nothing matters, man. You can walk through walls. You'd be like, who said it? Who said it? I'm here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with those. And I would say also, make sure you check yourself on a regular basis. Check your thoughts. And when you hear those negative, those bad thoughts telling you what you can and you can't do, check it. I don't know who it came from. I don't know if it came from friends, parents, TV, whatever those negative thoughts are. Go ahead and check those at the door. And that way you're not distracted by that stuff. So in addition to what Shandra said, is also checking those thoughts to make sure you're in alignment. So before we go, I want you to tell us a little bit more about your business. Everyone, please go follow.
Yes. So basically, Grassroots Consultant is the core. I have multiple businesses, but believe it or not, I love for them to follow me personally, and that's Shandra Stringer on all channels: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'm working on YouTube, so catch me later. But if you follow me on those pages and follow me on my business pages, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And I want to say thank you for inviting me, because it has been a treat.
Aw, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. So next week, I think we have a hero's journey, your hero's journey. So next week, we're going to be talking about the journey that everyone has to take, whether you realize you're on it or not. And it's the hero's journey. So I don't know if anyone studied up on what the hero's journey is, but it talks about how you get to that challenge and that obstacle, and you have that battle and you get through it, right? So
Yeah, good segue.
we're gonna have Miss Kendra Aubrey on next week.
Yes.
She's a published author, she's an entrepreneur, a communication strategist, all of the things again, all of the places. But we're gonna have her on to talk with us about that. I am so grateful for you for coming on. So grateful. And I'm so grateful for you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe, follow. You should find all of the links for both of us in the description of the event. And all right, let me see what these last two comments are. All right, thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Latoya. Thank you, Russell. And Talisha and Jerry, and I think I said your name, and Jamie. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week.
Yes, thank you. Have a great one.
Bye. Uh-oh.